Welcome to the Las Cruces Round Up. My name is Ben Beyer, owner of Red Cliff Homes. We are featuring your favorite local businesses here in the Las Cruces and Mesilla areas. Thanks for joining us today, and I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the Las Cruces Round Up. Today we're with Josh Beyer at Throat Punch. Josh, tell us, who are you and what in the world is Throat Punch?
So once again, I'm Josh Beyer, lifelong resident of Las Cruces. And Throat Punch Performance doesn't really go along with what we do here. We do a lot of work on UTVs, side-by-sides, Polaris, Can-Am, all these all-terrain vehicles. Throat Punch is kind of like an inside joke between some friends and family, and it was pretty catchy. We named a race team that, and had a lot of interest in the apparel and design, so we decided to stick with it, and it's been pretty eye-catching. We get people to pull over just taking a picture of our sign, and then they come in and buy t-shirts and koozies
Nice.
and stuff. So just something to catch the eye.
There you go. Okay, good. So I don't have to be on guard watching myself.
Not unless you get out of control. You get pretty rowdy, then we get Benny or someone over here. They like to get a little throat punch happy every now and then. No, I'm just kidding. We're all pretty easygoing guys here.
Good. So how did you get into this business?
So I grew up in the automotive field. My dad was an auto mechanic, came from like a farming background, so I was either always on the farm with my grandpa working on equipment with him, or running around the shop with my dad's mechanics, and they were throwing wrenches at me and trying to get me out of their way. But so I always had an interest in it. But what really drew me into this is I started racing at a young age. I guess I'd be considered a third generation racer. My grandfather raced, my father raced. In all forms and fashions, and I started racing early on in high school. Before I even had my driver's license, I started racing cars, and it's been a passion of mine. And I've bounced around, done some different things, and ran my own business prior to this for about 13 years, and worked for a big heating and cooling company here in town, and really learned about big business and learned a lot from a friend that I worked for. And tried another venture shortly after that, and decided it was time to go back to doing my own thing, and just decided to do something that I was passionate about. I off-road race, professionally for a team out of Canada for some good friends of mine, and work on their race trucks and cars at my personal shop, and decided to turn my hobby into a career. And I had also a pretty much a lifelong friend, Benny, that is also in off-road racing, and we sat down just shooting the bull one day and decided that we were going to give it a run. He had the facility, and I had the desire to start a business again, so we kind of collaborated on it. And we're not too far into it, but we've been very fortunate and blessed to stay very busy every day, and we're getting a pretty good following, and we try our hardest to take very good care of the people that come in. And that's always my biggest thing, is customer service first. The customer comes first, and taking care of them. So it's working out really well, and we're excited because we love what we're doing.
Awesome. And you guys just opened last fall, right?
We did. We opened late November, so kind of right in the midst of our pandemic, and people thought we were a little crazy At the time, I actually started this business and one other with a partner, and was still farming and still running the race team out of Canada. So I was really pulled in a lot of different directions, going for kind of basically running 4 different businesses. But this was a baby. I mean, I kept telling Benny that this was going to be a baby, and this is where we're going to put our attention. So slowed down to just running the race team out of Canada, or working with them, and this business is our focus. So.
Good. Now, are races still happening right now with all the restrictions and things?
Why are you firing me? I didn't do anything.
This guy loves to come in and joke around.
Benny here.
That's the story of our shop. We just mess around, and it keeps it lighthearted and fun. So
yeah.
I figured he'd pop his head in at some point. But so the races are last season. Unfortunately, my Canadian brothers weren't able to travel because they're pretty much locked down there, and so the races did happen, but we were unable to race because we raced primarily down in Mexico, and so we didn't race in those races out of the country. So I was able to do a couple local races in El Paso, Texas, where they've got a small series going. So I was able to take my son, put him in a co-pilot seat, and go out there and win a couple races there. And then went with my good buddy Jared Teague. He still races Best in the Desert, which is in the United States, and he was still racing. So I got to travel with him a little bit and go do some of that.
Cool. Now, is that racing side-by-sides, or what kind of vehicles are you racing?
So I got into off-road racing, racing trucks with Benny and a couple other friends, and it's progressed. Just because of my passion for it, I've kind of stuck with it. Once again, my buddy Jared and I kind of took a car that I had and modified it and went out and tried to do a really big race called the Mint 400, and realized we were way outgunned.
Okay.
So we finished the race, which was a big feat in itself. Came back to Las Cruces and, over some cold beverages, decided that we were going to go all in. And we found a car, and Jared was able to fund the project, and we put together a racing team, and we went out and did very well. Won several big races. The Vegas to Reno, which is the longest race in North America, or in the United States. We won that one in the Class 10 car. Won Laughlin race, and always were finishing in the top 3. Wow. And then, so that just progressed from there, and then I was able to start working with Mark and Carl out of Canada, and so now I race with them. I race a Spec Trophy truck, which is just about the top level of off-road racing. There's another class above us, which is very pricey to get into, so I'm very fortunate to be able to do that and have a passion for it. So
yeah, that's awesome. Sounds like fun. What's your favorite things about living in Las Cruces?
Cruces, it's always home. I leave a lot to go race or to travel, vacation and stuff, but I always want to come back to it. Small knit community. I like walking into, when we could, go into restaurants, and I remember my son asking me one day, he's like, "Dad, how come every time we walk into a restaurant, 4 or 5 people and it takes you a while to sit down?" It's just my father knew a lot of people, so I knew a lot of people through him, and then gradually just, you make a lot of connections, and I feel like there's nothing that I don't have a need for that I wouldn't know who to go to, who is either the best in the business at it, or the best restaurant to go to, and we usually know the owner or someone that's working there. So that's what I love about Las Cruces. It's a small, for the most part, pretty safe community, and there's a lot to do here for us, especially off-road enthusiasts, because we're the desert's right there in our back door. We can drive out of our garage and go have fun at any minute. So
yeah. So general trivia about Las Cruces, or where's your favorite place to go ride?
Around Las Cruces, I'd have to say a place that means a lot to me would be going out to the Doniana Mountains. What a lot of people and UTV riders probably don't realize is there wasn't a lot of trails back in the day, and we have a whole wall kind of in my shop that has nothing but pictures of my dad racing Jeeps back when he was a young kid. So my grandfather and my dad and another guy named Fred and Jim Huff, which were father and sons, they had a Boy Scout troop, and they went out and forged a lot of new trails with Jeeps. Oh, cool. And one of the cool things about the Doniana Mountains, it's kind of an iconic place. People know about it. It's called the Arch. It's like a big hole in a rock you could drive through. And back in the day, they used to hold off-road races out there, and my dad and his buddies had to go out there with like little sledgehammer and chisels and make that arch a little bigger in order for the Jeeps to fit through, because they wanted to go through them at full speed. So that's kind of a neat place for me to go ride out there. It's very challenging, and it's an old race course that my dad raced on, so it's kind of neat for me.
Yeah, that's cool. Some cool history.
Yeah.
That's the arch kind of on the top side of the mountain that you can barely see from the freeway.
Yeah, you can see the little eye in the rock. Exactly. That's it. Yeah, that used to be one of the old race courses. So
cool. That's neat. And they would race through that at full speed.
They would. Yeah, we got some crazy pictures of on the wall over there of my dad. I mean, some of them they weren't even wearing helmets. A lot of times their co-pilot they weren't even wearing seatbelts. They were using their co-pilot as like weight so the Jeep wouldn't flip over. They were definitely a little more hardcore back then than we are now. Now we've got 30 inches of travel and 800 horsepower, and these guys were racing like stock Jeeps and just beating themselves up. So
wow, that's crazy. Well, what's the biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome in getting this business started?
It's kind of a new industry. I mean, obviously there are power sports dealerships, but in this town there was only a few like all-terrain and UTV repair shops, and we didn't just want to be a repair shop. We wanted to be somewhere, a place where people could come get accessories and get good service, and we can do full fabrication, make sure that they're going to be safe when they go out rather than just going and getting it worked on by somebody. We wanted to leave our shop the way we would want it for our personal vehicle. So we take a lot of pride in that, and I think the biggest obstacle we overcame was trying to get in with the right vendors to get the right products. It's a lot of legwork, so trying to run a business and work on the vehicles by day, but also spending countless hours at night trying to fill out dealer applications and come up with the funding to do these big buy-ins for certain companies. But we wanted the best products there were to offer. We didn't want just cheap stuff you could get off of the internet. We wanted to be able to provide the community of something maybe they hadn't had before.
Yeah, that's cool. So do you guys sell obviously the accessories and the parts, you do the work, do you guys sell ATVs, UTVs?
We do right now. It's kind of hard. They're moving so fast. They've gained popularity so much that when we first opened, we constantly had anywhere from maybe 3 to 4 for sale. Maybe some of like personal stuff that we had that I was selling off, or we also do consignments for customers. So that's something we're always offering. Like right now, we currently have a few vehicles that are on consignment for customers. Some people don't have the time to sell them, or maybe they don't have the knowledge, but we have the the front door for it. People drive by, it's a high traffic area, and we've been able to move a lot of them for customers, which I think is another thing that's nice for the community. They got somewhere to go now that they can be sold for them. They don't have to put in the legwork or the advertising.
Yeah, that is a great service.
Yeah.
So people can contact you guys to do that
Definitely.
for them.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, anytime.
Great. What is your vision for the future of Las Cruces in, say, 5, 10, 20 years?
I hope that we can continue. I mean, especially like if we're going to focus like on the UTV community. I mean, they've kind of got a bad rap for certain things. Going out and leaving trash behind, stuff like that. But there's so many people that buy these vehicles. They're new to it, and there's so many people that are not new to it that have been taking care of the trails and picking up after themselves, and even like organizing cleanups. So that's one thing that's going to be important to us over the next 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, organizing big cleanups for Las Cruces and the surrounding area in the deserts.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see Las Cruces continue to try and be more business friendly and get business, get some perks for businesses to open up and see people prosper for themselves.
Definitely. What, I forget my question here. Recently they just started allowing UTVs to travel on the roads here, right?
That's correct. Yeah, there's certain laws. There's certain things that you have to do to your UTV to make sure that they're street legal.
Okay.
And it's nothing too costly. But if you have a UTV, it's pretty easy to make it ready street legal. The biggest thing is just there's, like I said, they've gotten out this black cloud over them because they were not street legal for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Now that people see them on the streets, they they draw attention.
Yeah.
And for the most part, anybody can get in a car, truck, or UTV, and they can drive recklessly. And if someone does an UTV, it gives them a really bad name really quickly. So we always try to push to all our customers, just be respectful on the road and be respectful of all the trails you're on, and teach people to do that so that it can continue to happen, because it is good for the market. And really, they're very safe vehicles. They're safer than majority of vehicles on the road today that have been street legal. Yeah.
So I would assume that's probably a lot of the popularity now is because they're more accessible. You don't have to load it on a trailer, take it out to the desert,
Exactly.
get it off.
Exactly. Yeah, and not everybody has a trailer, and not everybody has a truck to tow the trailer. But if they can afford a UTV, now they can park in their garage or their backyard or the side of the house, and they can get in it and get on. Majority of our streets are legal for them to drive on. They can get out to the desert and go enjoy themselves and take their family for a good time.
That's awesome. What's the best place for people to learn about which streets are legal and which ones are not, and what they have to do to be street legal?
So there is a couple of websites that have that. Of course, you can go to some state websites for the DMV or DOT, any state highways. So it's not a statewide legality. It's all by like community or city. So you have to follow your city's rules. Like we're lucky in Las Cruces and our surrounding area, they've made them legal. But the biggest thing you have to do is stay off state highways. And if you do have to travel on a state highway to get to somewhere, you want to make it as minimal as possible. And drive off to the side of the road. Of course, using your hand signals and following the rules, like having helmets on kids that are under 18. There's a few rules, and those people that maybe don't know about it can always stop by here, and we can try and fill them in or direct them in the right direction to get more information.
Okay, perfect. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
When I was in college, I was pretty. I wouldn't say quiet, because I always got in trouble in school for being kind of talkative and shooting the bull with people when I shouldn't be. But when I was in college, I wasn't a very good public speaker. I remember like having to get up and being very shy and kind of nervous, like to the point where I would almost not remember doing the little speech I had to do in college. Like the first college class I went to, and I hated public speaking. But I had a professor named Dr. Cinda Clary, and she, for some reason, I don't know why, but she reached out to me, and her piece of advice, I guess, was to come out of my break the shell and come out. And she taught me a lot of things that have been very valuable, not only to business but my personal life. In my whole business, I had to do a lot of training, so I had sometimes 5 people standing around or 100 people, and I was having to train them how to use equipment. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have been as prosperous and gone as far as I have with some of my previous businesses, and of course moving into like the sales field. And being able to offer such good customer service. So really, she was the one that just made me break out of the shell and see that it was a good thing to have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, how can people get a hold of you and Throat Punch? How can they follow you on social media or
Definitely
reach you guys?
Definitely. So we have a phone number. You can Google us at Throat Punch Performance. We have our phone number on Google. our location, but we do have social media. We have a Facebook page and an Instagram page.
Okay.
We are currently working a couple different options on a pretty interactive website. We were going to start out with just a generic website, but I think we're going to move into having a shopping cart and look at moving some of our apparel on there, and maybe even doing some type of like vehicle raffles and stuff. So we're trying to be very innovative and think outside the box all the time, not just be a little mechanic shop.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, what are some of your favorite local businesses besides obviously Throw Punch?
Right. Well, I don't know. My wife has a little saying that I'm a fat kid at heart because I love eating, and there's not a kind of food that I don't like. So I would have to say living down in the Mesilla area. I kind of grew up in that area, and I'm fond of it. So a lot of the little local restaurants, I love seeing places like Chala's come in and just thrive. I mean, they took a smaller location that a few restaurants have been in, and they've been there for a long time. So places like Chala's, Salud, Chris and Russell over Salud, they've got in a place that and they just thrive. So I like being out in the public. I mean, I know right now with the pandemic we can't do it as often as possible, but just the tourist area of Mesilla and the restaurants down there. We got La Posta and Double Eagle and so many cool places right in that area. So that's one of my fondest things about Las Cruces is just the restaurants that we have and the good Mexican food that we have.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Josh. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Everybody ought to come on down here and check out the shop. It's a really cool environment. I'm sure we'll get some photos in there.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Ben. Thanks for taking the time to come down.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
You got it.